Hey guys, we're going to be working on solving quadratic equations by completing the square. And our target today is I can complete the square. It's our last set of notes for the year. Yay! Okay, so we have learned how to solve quadratic equations by graphing and by taking the square root. So now we're going to do what we call completing the square to find solutions to a quadratic equation. So these are the steps. We have to make sure it's in ax squared plus bx is equal to c. Identify a, b, and c. And then we find b over 2 squared. And then we add that, whatever that answer is, to both sides of the equation. And this will form a perfect square trinomial. And then we factor that. But remember that a perfect square trinomial will always factor into a plus b squared or a minus b squared. So it's a little bit easier. Take the square root of both sides, and then we write and solve the equations. All right, so example problems, solve each quadratic equation by completing the square. I have x squared plus 14x is equal to 15. And it's already in that form, so I need to identify a, b, and c. I see that my a is 1, because that's what's in front of x squared. My b is 14, and my c is 15. Now I need to find b over 2 squared. My b is 14, so I have 14 over 2 squared. 14 over 2 is 7, and 7 squared is 49. So now that I've done that, I'm going to add that into both sides of the equation. So I have x squared plus 14x plus 49 is equal to 15 plus 49. So I plugged it back into both sides. And now I need to factor. So two numbers that when multiplied would give me 49. And when added would give me 14, if that helps you. Or we can look at it, and because it's a perfect square trinomial, this number is going to come down here. And because I have two positives, it's x plus 7 squared equals 64, because 15 plus 49 is 64. So I factored this because I know it's a perfect square trinomial, because 7 squared is 49. So notice that that's the number that came down here too. And I have a plus b because I have two addition signs. Okay, that should be a little bit of a review from a couple weeks ago. But if it helps you to know that that is a number that came down here, okay? All right, now I need to take the square root of both sides to get rid of this square. So I have x plus 7 is equal to plus or minus 8. And then I need to set x plus 7. I'm going to do it up here. I have more room. X plus 7 equals positive 8. And x plus 7 equals negative 8. Subtract 7. You get x is equal to 1. Or x is equal to negative 15. All right. Looking at letter B, I have x squared minus 2x minus 2 is equal to 0. And I need to add that 2 because I need to make sure that c is on the other side of the equation. My a is 1, my b is negative 2, and my c is 2. And now I need to find b over 2 squared. So I have negative 2 over 2 squared. Negative 2 over 2 is negative 1. Negative 1 squared is positive 1. So now that positive 1 is going to get plugged into both sides. So I have x squared minus 2x plus 1 is equal to 2 plus 1. We do it to both sides to keep it balanced. Now I need to factor this. Because it's a perfect square trinomial, that x will come down. The x, it's not x squared, it's x, because this whole thing is going to get squared. And because I have a subtraction sign, it's minus. And it is going to be minus 1, because that's what was here, right? 1 squared is still 1. Negative 1 squared is still 1. Okay, so that is what came down here. And then 2 plus 1 is 3. Now I got to square root both sides. So I get x minus 1 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 3, because you can't take the square root of 3. So I get x minus 1 is equal to positive square root 3. And x minus 1 is equal to negative square root 3. Add 1, x is equal to 1 plus the square root of 3. And x is equal to 1 minus the square root of 3. So those are your two answers. Okay, flip it over. 3 more problems to do. X squared plus 10x is equal to negative 9. Okay, it's in the correct form. I'm going to identify my A, which is 1. My B is 10, and my C is negative 9. B over 2 squared. So I have 10 over 2 squared. 10 over 2 is 5. 5 squared is 25. So that will get plugged into both sides. So I have x squared plus 10x plus 25 is equal to negative 9 plus 25. Okay, now I have to factor. Because both of them are positive, I have x plus, and that term is 5. 5 squared is 25 squared. Negative 9 plus 25 is 16. Square root both sides. X plus 5 is equal to plus or minus 4, because the square root of 16 is 4. X plus 5 is equal to positive 4. X plus 5 is equal to negative 4. Subtract 5 from both sides, and you get x is equal to negative 1. And you get x is equal to negative 9. All right, letter D. X squared minus 8x minus 5 is equal to 0. I need that C term to get moved. So I get x squared minus 8x is equal to 5. My A is 1, my B is negative 8, and my C is 5. Now I have to find B over 2 squared. B is negative 8. Negative 8 over 2 is negative 4. Negative 4 squared is 16. And that term will get added to both sides. So I have x squared minus 8x plus 16 is equal to 5 plus 16. Factor. I get x. I know it's going to be minus because that middle term is minus. And that term was 4. Negative 4 squared is 16. If you doubled this, negative 4x doubled would be negative 8x. And 5 plus 16 is 21. Square root both sides. X minus 4 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 21. X minus 4 is equal to positive root 21. And x minus 4 is equal to negative root 21. Add 4. You get x is equal to 4 plus the root of 21. And you get x is equal to 4 minus the root of 21. Those are your answers. All right, our last problem together of the year. X squared minus 4x minus 6 is equal to 0. I need to add 6 to both sides. I get x squared minus 4x is equal to 6. A is 1, B is negative 4, and C is 6. Find B over 2 squared. So negative 4 over 2 squared. Negative 4 over 2 is negative 2. Negative 2 squared is 4. Okay, now I need to add that back into both sides. So I get x squared minus 4x plus 4 is equal to 6 plus 4. And I need to factor. I know it'll be negative because that middle term is negative. It's going to be x minus 2. Negative 2 squared is 4. And negative 2 times x is negative 2x. If you doubled it, it would give you that negative 4. And remember, it is that number, if that helps you too. 6 plus 4 is 10. Square root both sides to get rid of that square. You get x minus 2 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 10 because 10 cannot be taken square root of perfectly. And because I have plus or minus, I need to set x minus 2 equal to positive 10. And x minus 2 equal to this, I said positive 10, positive square root of 10. X minus 2 is equal to negative root 10. Add 2 to both sides. You get x is equal to 2 plus the square root of 10. And x is equal to 2 minus the square root of 10. Those are your answers. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. I know I kind of went through it fast, but feel free to ask me. And remember, all the steps are right here. If you don't remember how to factor that, a perfect square trinomial, that's from a couple sections ago, but we can work with you on that too. So, but remember, it's just, if you have x squared, that's just going to become x, and then whatever this ends up being is that number, and then if you have two positives, it's positives, and if you have a negative, then it's negative, okay? So this one was -1, so you could just remember that the -1 would go there too, okay? See you guys soon. Bye. Have a great summer.